Benjamin is going to make a presentation on consistency on line cover for improving model comparisons.
Okay, so thank you for organizing this session. I think the talks have built really nicely on one another. And so this talk also builds on the presentation by Pierre Defourny this morning, talking about the ESA climate change initiative and the line cover product in particular. And so basically what I would like to do with this presentation is to kind of get people thinking about how we're initializing the GVMs. And as Julia put it, there are these fake sources of uncertainty that come from definitions, but I think there are also some kind of fake sources of uncertainty coming from the line cover inputs that we're using. So the past couple of days we've been kind of introduced to a whole variety of models that people here have read about, have developed, and used in different studies. And so Debbie Hunsinger put together a dissimilarity analysis of these models to try to understand how the structural setups of the models may explain the variability in some of the simulations that we're doing. And so you can see that we have one kind of major split here, and this split here is to do with the models that include interactive nitrogen and the models that do not. And then we have further splits about how the energy budget is represented or not represented, and then other splits on time steps and so on. And so this is kind of a nice way to illustrate the structural differences across the models. And then the idea is that we can try to explain some of this uncertainty. Now we're looking at the global land sync from Trinity 2 simulations by understanding the structural uncertainties or the structural differences within the models. And so as you can see, the ensemble mean and standard deviation is about half the ensemble mean. And then with the latest CMIP5 contributions, we can see for global biomass that the range of uncertainty is kind of unacceptably large. And so for present day, we have a range of uncertainty of about 600 petagrams across the full ensemble of models. And so we are kind of interested then in looking at what are the other sources of uncertainty that are contributing to this variability. So here we'll focus on the concept of pan-functional type, and how this is represented in models. And as in Susan Austin's presentation on Monday, we learned quite a bit about traits that go into defining PFTs. But it's important to keep in mind that the PFT concept is a non-phylogenetic classification tool, and so it's based on plant traits and plant responses to climate and also to disturbance. And we performed a study a few years ago comparing where we developed 4 different PFT data sets using the original glove cover data set, GLC 2000, and 2 versions of Modus land cover. And we found, we wanted to identify where the main sources of uncertainty were when we go from the original land cover data, which have IGBP legends or LCCS legends, and then aggregate this information to PFTs. And we find that the uncertainty is rather well globally distributed, but with a particular kind of emphasis in shrubby systems, grassland systems, where the minimum thresholds defining forest cover are different between IGBP and LCCS legends. And then also some kind of hotspots of uncertainty in the Arctic deforestation region, where basically the year that the data set comes from can introduce this uncertainty. And so when we look again through different model ensembles to get a sense of which models are using prescribed vegetation rather than the DGVM, and to just get a sense of what people are using for land cover inputs, we find huge variability, and maybe half of the models in these in the Trendy and CMIP5 are using data sets from the early 1990s based on AVHR, vegetation continuous field products, to initialize land cover and then keep this land cover content throughout the simulation. And then the mistimate model comparison that again by Debbie Hunsinger, the aim here is to recontrol for land cover, and so hopefully some of this uncertainty does get reduced, but this is not been treated in previous studies. And so, so the idea with the ESA land cover CCI was to replace these outdated land cover inputs with a consistently generated and recent land cover data set that Pierre described earlier. And the aggregation tool that we all developed is by the Brockmann console. Takes the 300-meter land cover data set and then puts it through a processing chain where we first convert the land cover classes to PFD fractions, and then merge the PFD fractions with climate zones for those particular GVMs that require climate information. And then also it provides the opportunity to aggregate at different scales. So Josep asked a question earlier about how we go from the LCCS legend to PFTs, and the problem is that it's very subjective and dependent on expert opinion to kind of determine how you go from a mixed land cover class to the various PFT fractions, and so. So the CCI team worked together to kind of help with these splits into the PFT fractions based on the understanding what's going on with the LCCS legend. And for climate zones, we decided to use the recent Köppen-Geiger climate zone map to basically break the globe into boreal, temperate, and tropical regions. And so this is just kind of illustrating the zonation, the Köppen zones, and the gear, which defines these zones based on mean air temperature or growing season precipitation and so on. So then the idea is that we have updated PFT data sets, and we were particularly interested in understanding whether with updated and standard PFT data set for model initialization, whether this improves the model or reduces the model ensemble variability. And we also wanted to see whether the individual models improved against a variety of benchmarks. And so, so here are the models that are involved with Orchidea, Jules from the Met Office, and J.S. Bach from West Plum. And then these are the benchmarks that we used. So we looked at above ground biomass, soil carbon, MPP from Modus, and then transported vertical fluxes of CO2 with the LND transport tool developed by Peylin. And you can see that we performed a range of offline and online experiments to understand the impact of the CCI product within the models. So just briefly, some of the major differences that we found. This is comparing the original land cover PFT data set for Orchidea, which is based on the Olsen volumes from the 1980s, and the CCI product. We generally see increases in seaboard grasslands globally due to the use of the Köppen-Geiger system for assessing the climate zones. And then we also see in tropical countries in particular a large increase in seaboard grasslands, just where land cover changes taking place over the past couple of decades. And so this is obviously an improvement to these distributions, more correct. In the high latitudes, we found that, and this was the same for modeling groups, a large decrease in tundra sea-free grass cover. And what's happening here is that the LCCS category for these high latitude regions is kind of a herbaceous classification, and the definition includes a rather high amount of kind of bare soil. And so with the CCI product, there's quite a bit of uncertainty about how to represent this herbaceous land cover type in the high latitudes, and whether to have this bare soil or
abundant grass cover. In northwestern U.S., we saw an increase in boreal needle evergreens, which has consequences later on. And then we also see changes in boreal needle summergreen, and the increase in bare soil that I mentioned. And then we also see changes in phenology type in kind of these mid-latitudes. So again, in the tropics here, you can more see clearly the increase in crop cover in the forestation region, and at the expense of decreasing tropical rain green and tropical evergreen PFTs. So within the CCI framework, we have this aggregation tool, but it doesn't fit all the needs of the individual models. And so one issue is that some of the groups have to modify how they worked, and this introduces an additional layer of uncertainty. So for example, with the Spark model, they had an increase in grass cover in the high latitudes because they weren't comfortable with assigning high estimates for bare soil in this region. And then other models included shrubs, which the tool is able to generate a shrub category, but the modeling teams kind of have their own interpretation on how to do this crosswalking. So in terms of MPP changes at the global scale, we saw kind of mixed responses. And so Orchidea had a small increase in MPP. Orchidea had a slight strong MPP bias to some issues with BC Max that he used. And but then we saw more increases in global MPP. In particular, we saw that with Orchidea, we saw that the bias in MPP actually increased in the C4 cropland route. So this gives us some indication about which model processes should be that to reduce bias. In the almond, in the coupled simulation, we see some of these biases, but we actually see larger decreases in MPP in the higher latitudes. And again, this basically summarizes that for the models. For the offline version, we had an increase in the RMR. For the online version, we had a decrease. For Joules, we had increases in the both online RMSR and so on. And so there wasn't a clear kind of consequence of across all three models for the using the CCI part. We looked a little bit in detail with Orchidea of why the online version may have had a larger decrease in MPP than the offline version, and it appears to be linked to how albedo is treated in the online model. So there's a high albedo affecting your budget and MPP values. And compared to the modal albedo, again, there was kind of mixed improvements depending where you're looking at globally or regionally, but global scale was no consistent kind of here. For background biomass, we found nice changes in the tropical regions that corresponded to recent deforestation of the past couple of decades, and so we see a reduction of bias here. But then we saw a replacement of the needle leaf PFT by this PFT. We see an increase in the bias to benchmark here. And so again, it gives us some indication where we can look at model processes to figure this out, assuming that the cover of the PFT is grouped. And similar to the MPP results, we got responses in the RMSR. Fluorocarbon, so none of the models included a permafrost, and so compared to the harmonized gold soils database, some models include organic soils, and so compared to the harmonized world soils database, which has we tend to have negative bias in all that entities. And the last benchmark was the MSCO2 transport, and so basically it's difficult to see, the gray line here, the observations at Mauna Loa, and the black line indicates the Olsen PFT map, the original PFT map, and then the red indicate the offline CCI PFT map. And so there's been maybe can be, but there is more of an agreement between the CCI and that over here. And then the blue line here is the DGV camera, where we can see the quickest parts of drum. And so we're ending up decreasing as for CO2 concentrations. So for a range of global views, we can kind of go on here with the improvements to the model. So latitude regions, Barrow, Lower, we see an improvement compared to the observations. So we see a decrease in the seasonality. And that decrease in the seasonality was related to the reduction in grass cover in Western North America. So this is the amplitude in LAI, which is quite low. And then this is the amplitude in LAI CCI product, which is now decreased and is causing the dynamics, the seasonal dynamics of the scene to much better. So our first question was to see whether the model results using the standardized PFT data. And so obviously the PFT data is just one source of uncertainty, but we know that it could provide an improvement in the model ensemble. But interestingly, we found that having this tool to provide standardized from Vancouver to PFTs, the model actually chose to kind of interpret that tool by adding a level of uncertainty. And so this is kind of common to all model comparisons. It's something that we should be more explicit about. And then the model performance, and it's dependent again on which benchmarks used. And been thinking about using some graded benchmark, but even with this, the weighting criteria for multiple benchmarks, the company that's integrated is somewhat effective. Just to kind of put this global forest age mapping with LSC geocarbon, what we've done is we have today a forest age distribution data set that's at half the resolution. For each cell, we have a fraction of different PFTs in age classes, and they're derived from National Forest Inventory Statistics. And so what we did is a series of global simulations with Orchid, where established vision in different years, developed a lookup table, and then reassembled bus based on the known age distribution. And we could reduce bias to about 300 pairs when we corrected mass data, and then this brings us much more in line with more recent estimates for ground bias. So the point here is just to say that the LIMER is important to have consistent and also to have represent what's happening in the but to build on Sashkin's presentation, so land management. So just to wrap up, this issue of fake uncertainty is something that's quite interesting. And a couple of points, the PFT approach, the industry approaches promoted, or based approaches and so on. Perhaps it's fine to try to be successful in all ensembles and use. So.